Bro, I know you spent quite a bit of time like studying from the Vedic traditions, amongst many things. How do you came across it? And I don't know a lot about the Vedics. And for the listener, can you give a background? What is the Vedic? Where they come from? Why are they so extremely wise in their teachings? Yeah, can you just share a bit?
Sure. So Gary's talking about the Vedic knowledge and the Vedas. So Vedic knowledge or Vedic wisdom is a body of knowledge that's been preserved, firstly cognized by seers that would transcend. So that was one of the key aspects of the Vedic practice, was that there was this transcendent experience which would then give you the ability to access that field of wisdom. So it's not like someone had a thought or read a book that gave them knowledge. It was something that they cognized through the field of infinite wisdom that's in the transcendent, that's in the formlessness of being. And what they cognized was so much knowledge that literally is a pathway to fulfillment in our world today. And it was cognized up to, 10,000 years ago, some say. The Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads were written thousands and thousands of years ago, which was the capturing of that knowledge into books. But the Vedic knowledge in the Vedas is a body of work that incorporates the recognition of the body and the different body types. So that's in Ayurveda. So Ayur means body and Veda is the knowledge. There's the Veda, which is a particular way of building houses and buildings that is in congruency and in alignment with the universe and with nature.
Oh.
What we've not recognized, particularly as a human, is we've become very disconnected from our relationship with the universe and our relationship with nature, which is part of our biggest problem, I think, is that deep disconnect. And what they recognize in the Vedas is that we are actually part of an undercurrent of natural law. There's a beautiful flowing natural law, a current that is a sequential timeline that we're in. And we can be incongruent with that, or we can be congruent with that. And when we're congruent with that, we find life flows a lot more fluidly and a lot more harmoniously. It's not perfect, and you'll definitely still have challenges, little snags along the way on the river that you get caught on. But when we let go more and trust and flow in that natural law, we find life is quite fluid and effortless. And what happens when we meditate with the Vedic practice is that we start to naturally, by default, through that transcendent experience, be more congruent and in alignment with that natural law, and less in our egoic structure that's moving us in and out of very irrelevant sort of pathways. So I came across it because it was a really interesting process that I came across it, and it was beautifully organized by the universe in some beautiful natural law, where I was in a very dark place. I was suffering from agoraphobia, so I'd left work. I couldn't go to work every day. I had too much anxiety and panic, and I'd seen doctors and psychiatrists and put on suicide watch. I had to report into the hospital at Prince of Wales at Randwick. And I was at home, and this was in 1996. So agoraphobia in 1996 is pretty monotonous, because you don't have a iPhone, and you don't have Netflix, and you don't have internet. So you watch free-to-air TV, and I was watching TV channel, and they had a documentary about a property developer, and the very small portion of that documentary showed him meditating. And it was phenomenal. No one in my life meditated. I grew up on a farm and I worked in finance in the late 80s, 90s. There was no Calm and Headspace apps, so no one knew about meditation. And he talked very briefly about how he did this transcending meditation, and he was wearing a suit because he's a property developer and a big businessman, and he was sitting in a chair like this with his hands on his knees, and they showed him meditating in this room. And it was like this blinding epiphany. So firstly they mentioned that word transcending. I was like, whoa, what's that? That sounds deep. And then they showed him in a suit, in a chair, not in robes, not with a head shaved, not in lotus. And like, I wear suits, I sit in chairs. It was just this bridge had been crossed where there was an accessibility there. And I remember distinctly getting the yellow pages out and opening the book up to M for meditation. If anyone's watching this and they're under 45, they have no idea what I'm talking about. The Yellow Pages is a book that we used to have that we would find businesses. And I remember putting it on the coffee table and opening it to M for meditation. And I'm scrolling through the pages. I get to meditation, and in the Yellow Pages, what you could do, you could pay a premium to either have your company highlighted in dark black, in bold, but an even bigger premium if you had it in red. I don't know if you remember that. There were some companies that would have theirs in red. And I remember in bright red came across on the page, transcendental meditation. And they had a couple of phone numbers, and that's when I rang to inquire about how I can explore this technique, and that's when it started.